Shalom Aleichem and welcome to Machin Le'Ra online smicha. Many times of the year, we find that the shuls benefit from selling the aliyas, and that brings in some funds to the shul. One of the things that the gaboim have to be careful when they sell the aliyas is obviously there are different segulas and different reasons for different people to buy different aliyas. Fine, and everybody has their. Is it a shlishi? Is it a maftir? Is it a shishi? Eitzah, achnasa, maftir yoina. That's fine. That's up to the person himself. But in Kitzer Shalah, page Nun Gimel, and it's actually brought in a Kriya Sefer Torah Sefer called Shulchan HaKriya, he brings this Kitzer Shalah, and he says that the Gabbai who is announcing the aliyahs that are for sale has to be very careful how he does it. Why? And there is a root for this in halacha. We know the Gemara talks about discussion whether we should certain parts of Torah which are very, very important, if it should be read and said every day. And one of the reasons that the Gemara gives and Pais can give why not, because that's going to mislead a person to think that certain parts of Torah are very important, certain parts are secondary. And we know that there was issues also in halacha whether you should stand when the Aseres Dibros are read, the Ars Yashir is read. Why are we making a bigger fuss of one part of Torah over a different part of Torah? So in the Kitzer Shalah says that when those who sell the aliyas, to make sure that they'll say, okay, we're selling Kohen, Levi, Yisrael, Chamishi, Shishi, without specifying, oh, this aliyah is a great one, that one, no, not. And because when you do that, your borderline issue of showing favorite, showing specialty in one aliyah over another aliyah. Now, where is there a halachic background to such a conversation? Actually, in the Gemara Masechta Ksubas Daf Chaf Aleph, and the Gemara Masechta Eruvin Daf Samach Daled, the Gemara Masechta Shavuos Daf Mem Hey, the Gemara over there brings different statements that are brought in Chazal. Rav Nachman says two statements, and Rav Nachman said about certain things that Shmuel Paskin, so he said, kama ma'alya hashmaitza. This thing that Shmuel said, wow, how special it is. And about the second statement, he said, loy ma'alya hashmaitza. No big deal. I'm not that impressed. And therefore, the Gemara, or we find many times the Gemara says, "My kama malya hashmait." How great, how brilliant, how special is this sugya? And the Marsha in Masechta Eruvin asks, "L'chayra." The Gemara tells us that they bring a pasuk from Mishli. The pasuk of Mishli, Perek Chavtes, pasuk Gimel says, "V'roya zoynos yovad hain," which literally means somebody who hangs out with Zionists, with prostitutes, will lose all his money. So the Gemara takes that terrible situation, terrible description, the Gemara says, applies it to a person who is roya zoinos. What is zoinos? He takes topics in Torah, and he says, Zu, this one is noah. This one is special. This one's good. This one's Geshmak. And the other one, no, not so Geshmak. Somebody, Rahman al-Islam, who says about different portions in Torah, it's Geshmak, it's good. And the other one is not so Geshmak, Rahman al-Islam, Yoived Hain, he'll lose all. And the Gemara says there's an Isser to say, Shmua Zu Noah, this is a good topic. Vishmua Zu Eina Noah, and this is nothing special. So the question is, how do we find that in the Gemara in different places we do see kama ma'alya hashmaitza? How brilliant, how smart is this statement? Now, even Rashi and Chumash, we find that some of Farshim ask on Rashi the Taz on his Pirush on Torah on Rashi in the beginning of Parshas Kairach. Rashi says a statement: Parsha zu yafen nedreshes b'medrash. Oh, this discussion, what was Kairach's fight with Moshe Rabbeinu, is well explained in the Medrash, beautifully explained in the Medrash. And the Taz says, how are you allowed to say that? You're not allowed to say, oh, this is beautiful over here. Everywhere else, it's difficult. I thought the Gemara says, you're not allowed to say, zu noah v'zu eine noah. And actually, the Taz over there on that Rashi, the Taz goes on to explain that Rashi means to say, usually there are different ways to interpret a pasuk. There's pshat, remez, drush, soid. Over here, in this story of Kairach, there's only one way to interpret it, and that's the Medrash. And therefore, Rashi is saying, Parsha zu Yofa Nidreshes b'Medrash. There's no other way to understand it. He doesn't mean to say that this is a Geshmak topic, some other topic in Torah is not so Geshmak. So in Paiskim, there is actually a debate. What is the Isser? Is the Isser only if he says Shmua zu na or Shmua zu eine na? In other words, he says both ends. This is a special part of the Torah. This is a great mitzvah. This is a good aliyah. Shmua zu, and the other ones, then obviously he verbalized and he cheapened different parts of Torah. That's for sure not allowed. The Paiskim argue if he just says Shmua zu na, wow, this is Geshmak. This is a special. Is there a problem by doing that? Because unintentionally or indirectly, what you hear from his words is also this is Geshmak. Other ones are difficult. Is that also not allowed? And it seems to be from the fact that we see in so many places in Chazal, we say, wow, Kama Ma'alya Hashmaitza, that is not a problem. The problem is where you stress a level of negativity, that one is difficult. But if you're saying this is Geshmak and this is good, it's not really a problem. We find that the Netziv in Masechta Eruvin says a chiddush in the Sefer Marayim Beisada. He says the only time when a person says Shmua zu na v'zu eine na, it's not allowed. It's if he says, oh, this is helpful for me. It doesn't mean it's Geshmak. Obviously, Geshmak, different people have different interests that will talk to them more. As Chazal say, the Gemara says in Avodah Zarah, La'olam yilmad adam b'makom sheli b'chafetz. The Gemara clearly says that certain topics speak to different people. But the Marayim Beisada, the Netziv says, what's not allowed when he says that there is a better, I gain something personally from learning this. Other things I don't gain anything from that. That's not allowed. But if it's not something which is hanos, haguf, he's just saying Geshmak or not Geshmak, maybe either way, even if you say it's not Geshmak, maybe that's allowed. However, most of the poskim say that to stress Shmua zu na or Shmua zu eine na, that's not allowed. To say Shmua zu na, this is a Geshmak topic, or this is a special parsha of the Torah, even though you might read between the lines, since you didn't really mean it and it's not clear, it's most probably allowed.